Thank you, Debra. Mohammed Khan Tomani is in Guantanamo. He was sent to that legal black hole when he was 17 years old. His father's at Gitmo, Guantanamo, but they have not seen one another. Mohammed has lived in isolation for over 2 years. 6 months ago, he inflicted several slashes across his inner arm and a vein in his hand. He bangs his head against the cell walls and smears his cell walls with his own excrement. He exhibits signs of serious mental trauma. More recently, he began smearing excrement again on his walls. He didn't clean it up, and instead of mental health professionals coming to assist him, he was met by 10 large guards in riot uniforms who came and beat him up severely. These are called the IRF troops. They sprayed him with excess tear gas. He later began smashing his head again. He began bleeding in his head. He screams, he mumbles incoherently. The military authorities at Guantanamo, and I'm talking about what has happened just a few months ago, that is going on today in Guantanamo and in Bagram, Afghanistan, at the Air Force Base there, where conditions are worse there than they are in Guantanamo. The authorities did not help Mohammed. He has no fresh air. He has no sunlight. He has no social interaction. He has no contact with his father. They strip him, they remove his thin sleeping mat, and make him sleep in a cell for 3 days with his excrement. Gitmo has had over 800 prisoners pass through those steel gates that I've seen. And every prisoner there, everyone has a face, and everyone has a story to tell. As Rod Stewart said, every picture tells a story. And these photos that are in jeopardy of not being released, that will tell us a story, needs to be released so that the story can be told. How did this happen to Mohammed and others? It began with a group of the highest government officials conspiring in 2002 and 2003 to institute torture as a policy, to mislead the nation into a war they wanted to fight, and tortured people in the attempt to extract confessions that would justify that war. Torture and cruel and degrading treatment became the norm. There are similar stories of detainees having been routinely beaten, doused with cold water, and slammed headfirst into cells, stripped of clothing, bombarded with loud music, exposed to cold temperatures, deprived of sleep and solid food for days on end. They would stand for days with their arms shackled above them, wearing only diapers. Now, when the torture took place, President Bush called it enhanced interrogation, or an alternative set of procedures. But the law calls it torture under any other name. And Ted Koppel recently said, calling torture enhanced interrogation is like calling rape enhanced seduction. Today in Guantanamo, prisoners live in solitary confinement. That is the norm for the majority of the detainees. This is the norm even for those that have never been deemed to be an enemy combatant, who have been released to go back to their home country and get the hell out of Guantanamo. They still rot there, many of them in solitary confinement. Confinement in a small cell in concrete cells for at least 20 hours per day. There is virtually no human contact or mental stimulation. The men eat alone, no windows that face the outside, lights kept on 24/7, which causes sleep deprivation. The prisoners live in constant fear of physical attacks. At Guantanamo, there are many, many hunger strikes. and force-feeding by tubes. People are fed against their will in violation of the rule of law and basic standards of humane treatment. Men are restrained in chairs, forced tubes, big thick tubes forced down their stomachs, their noses, and their throats, and the food pumped into their stomachs. After World War II, the United States prosecuted Japanese people for waterboarding and otherwise torturing both American and British soldiers. We convicted those people. And why did we do it? Why did we prosecute? Because we knew then, as we should know today, that prosecuting illegal torture is necessary to assert the rule of law, to show that government officials are not above the law, to secure justice for the victims and the survivors of torture and war crimes, as well as to prevent future government officials from repeating the same despicable, immoral, and ill-advised decisions to violate our laws. We know that there are photographs that reveal detainees being abused. The Pentagon has already agreed just 1 month ago to release the photos, but recently President Obama has reversed that position and is attempting to prevent the public and potential prosecutors from viewing these graphic images that show abuse was widespread and systemic. Today, just today on television, for those of you who saw President Obama give a great speech, he said, and I quote, "Individuals who violated standards of behavior in these photos have been investigated and held accountable. And I say to all of you today, that is not the truth. That the people who are to be held accountable have not been brought to justice, and we need to seek a way to prosecute those people and bring them to justice. That is our law. That is our way of living here. And it is only right. We want to balance security with civil rights. I agree. We all agree on that. But I submit to you that the balance is tilted too much to the wrong side. I read a quote yesterday that says, "To give the government the power to suppress information because it might anger an unidentified set of people in an unspecified part of the world, and ultimately to endanger an ill-defined group of U.S. personnel, would be to invest the government with a virtually unlimited censorial power. And by investing it in such power, we would effectively be affording the greatest protection from disclosure to records that depict the worst kinds of government misconduct." Some say that President Obama will end torture, so why deal with the past? I say, don't believe it. That torture will end because already our president has said, through his lawyers' court filings, through his choice of a CIA director who has, at the Senate confirmation hearings, supported the use of the ticking bomb scenario. These are concerns that the public should have about whether torture will come to an end under Obama. Finally, we are a nation that lives under the rule of law. Laws are to be enforced not just when it is convenient to do so. Prosecutions require evidence, and the photos are the best evidence of what happened. Thank you.